everything tamei and say that it's tamei?
Blood is not necessarily tamei. We're saying that there's this tumah to the limb because it's aver min achai. The blood is not aver min achai. That it wouldn't become tamei necessarily.
So it doesn't get tamei from the blood of a,
no. What the blood does,
the leg is tamei.
Yeah, but the blood is machshir. We've seen that before. The blood makes the rest able to become tamei. It rinses the meat, but no, the blood itself is not tamei. So the Gemara suggests now another answer. Maybe our Mishnah is something that even Rabbi Yossi would agree to. Ravina said,
go for it.
Beged in a garment, lav l'chaticha kai. When you have a garment of 3 tfachim by 3 tfachim, there was no expectation that you were going to cut it. So since there was no expectation that you were going to cut it, it's not considered cut. And since it's not considered cut, so the touching of this fiber with this fiber is all happening inside. It's all maga b'es astar. It's a touch of hidden areas with hidden areas. But when you have a fetus who put its leg out, uber lechaticha kai. Once it puts its leg out, the leg is sort of on the track to be cut off. That's what it is. It's out, and what do you expect? You expect for it to be cut off. So once it's expected to be cut off, kala omed lachtoch, whatever is destined to be cut off. Now moving to today's daf, kechatuch dami is already considered cut off. Since it's already considered cut off, so now already you have something cut off touching the rest of the fetus. That already is not maga beis hastarm. That's not a hidden touch. That's an open touch, even though it's not really. But it's considered as if. Since it's as if it's going to be cut off, so it's considered cut off. Once it's considered cut off, you have a piece touching the organ, open touch. That creates tumah. So Gemara says, Kiman. Now, this was a suggested answer to say that even Rabbi Yossi could agree to the Mishnah, but really it doesn't work so well. Because, come on, who's this like? Rabbi Meir. This also is really like something else that it's only Rabbi Meir's view. Rabbi Yossi really wouldn't agree to this. Right? This would be like the view of Rabbi Meir. It's not because there's no Mishnah in mikvaos. Kol yados sakelim shein arukos. Let's say you have a vessel, and the vessel has a handle, but the handle is too long. Instead of the handle being 5 inches, it's 25 inches. It's not usable, such a vessel. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut off those extra 20 inches of handle. You're destined and planning to cut off the extra 20 inches of the handle. And what did he do? It became tummy. He wants to tovel it. Matvil ad makom mida. He can tovel the vessel up to the part of the handle, including the handle, and up until the measure of what he needs, but not more. And if that which he's planning to cut off, he doesn't put it into the mikvah. That's the view of Rabbi Meir. However, the view of Rabbi Yehuda is that it doesn't work. Atshiyat bilas kulo. You have to tovel the entire thing, the entire handle. So what's the argument? According to Rabbi Meir, since you're destined to cut it off, it's as if it's cut off. According to Rabbi Yehuda, even though you're destined to cut it off, it's not considered cut off. You still need to tovel the whole thing. So if we're going to say that our Mishnah is based on the idea of what you're destined to cut off is considered cut off, you're saying only that our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir. Answers the Gemara. 1 second. Afilu Tzemer Rabbanan. No. Maybe there's a difference. You could even say it's Rabbi Yehuda. It could be the sages who disagree with Rabbi Meir. We say like this: when you have a leg of a fetus that went out, and the rest of the fetus, the body of the fetus that's still inside, you're talking about 2 food items. Food items are considered really broken up, and as if they're separate from each other. So then it's considered as if you have 2 separate things from each other, as if they've been separated and are now touching. However, when you have a handle of a utensil, that's not considered separate and touching. So bottom line is, we have 2 explanations of the Mishnah to explain why there is tumah here. Yeah, question? 1 second, David had a question.
But if you put it in the mikveh, later you cut it off,
right,
you pass the tumah, something that was already cured, because one part wasn't in the mikveh.
That part was not in the mikveh, but that part is tumat beit hastarim. Like that's the touch that's going on there is a hidden touch. It's not an open touch. So Within one big utensil, there's a touch happening.
But before you said once we cut it, then it's fast.
Once you cut, while you cut, there's going to be a touch often. But I'm not so sure if a utensil can make tummy another utensil. Depends on what level of tummy we're talking about here. Now, one second, let's just finish this piece with 2 dots. So the Gemara now says, Bishma Ula, I can understand according to Ula, who said, as David said, that in the cutting, as they're separating, there's going to be a touch. That's going to be an open touch. That's why the Mishnah talks about a case where he cuts off the limb. El Ravina, my chatcha. But according to Ravina, it's already considered cut. Why does the Mishnah have to say that the cases where he cut off the limb? The answer is I did it on a Reisha chatcha. Since the Reisha talks about a case of cutting off the limb and where it is tar, because the limb was cut before before there was death, so the fetus inside is not yet a food to be able to become tamei. So since the Reisha spoke about chatcha, Tananami seifa chatcha. That's why it says in the end also that the limb was cut off. But really, even if the limb would not have been cut off, since it's omeid lichatech, it would be able to transmit the tumah, and it would not be considered maga beis ha-star. Okay, question, Baruch.
Yeah, Rabbi, when the leg comes out of the fetus, okay, do they give a time to see if the other parts of the body is going to come out, or they just cut
What's
it
the
right
rush
off?
to cut the limb? I was thinking the
Because
same
sometimes
thing.
they give the baby's born from leg part that comes out. Sometimes the head part comes out.
The Mishnah
Depends
starts
on the
with the tough labor.
situation of the baby's physical thing there in the stomach. So they have to give some time to see if the rest of the body is going to come out or not. Right away, boom, they cut the leg. I mean, does it make sense?
Yeah. Okay, so we had the argument between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim in the Mishnah. Rabbi Meir says, Habasar, the meat of the fetus, is maga nevela, had touched nevela, so it's tamei. And Chachamim maga treifa shchuta. It has the status of having touched a slaughtered treifa, which is also tamei, but not the same level of tumah as the tumah of touching nevela. So I want to ask 1 second. Treifa shchuta mimetamya. If you have a treifa which is slaughtered, is there any tumah? So Gemara says, there is a tumah. It's kedavua de Shmuel, as the father of Shmuel said. It's a tumah of a low level. Amar avua de Shmuel, the father of Shmuel said, treifa shchuta. If you have an animal that's a treifa that's slaughtered, it's a tumah midrabanan. Metama b'mukdashim. It does ruin kadshim. That if you have a treifa which is slaughtered, even though it's not a tumah d'oraisa, it's a tumah d'rabanan, that if it touches a carbon, that carbon piece would have to be thrown out, and that's what we're talking about. The argument here is when a fetus puts its leg out, and then it's slaughtered, and then the leg is cut off, do we say that that leg had the status of nevela, or did that leg have the status of a treifa? It was cut off from the fetus. It made the fetus tamei. Did it make the fetus tamei with the tumah to oraisa, biblical tumah? That's the view of Rabbi Meir. Or it made the fetus tamei with a tumah d'Rabbanan. That's the view of the Chacham. So then we had in the Mishnah conversation between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim. The Chacham said back to Rabbi Meir, Ma matzinu b'treifa shashchitasa mitarasa. When you have an animal that's a treifa, the shchita of it does remove tumah. So af shchitas behema, so to over here, the shchita of the animal, tetarasa uber, should remove the tumah of this organ that is outside of the animal. Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Amalahan Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says back to the Chachamim, what are you saying? That the shchita of the mother should remove tamas nevela, right? You're saying that the shchita simo, who's going to purify this limb from nevela? The shchita of the mother. Well, that doesn't work, because in Cain, if the shchita of the mother would work for the limb, to tirenu ba'achila, the limb should be permitted to be eaten. Amrulo, so the sages said back to here. in this brisa? No. They said, Harbe matzeles al she'eno gufo yoser mi gufa. Sometimes the shchit of the mother can do more for that which is not the body of the mother than for the body of the mother. Because we've learned, we've learned in our Mishnah, if a person is cutting up the pieces of the fetus inside of the mother, and then there's a shchita of the mother, mutter ba'achili, can eat those pieces. But if he cuts min hatchol, if he cuts up the spleen of the mother, umin aklayos, or the kidneys of the mother, and then he slaughters the mother, aser ba'achila, the spleen and the kidneys cannot be eaten. My comment, what's that? What does that have to do with anything? What are they saying? Rava said, Amila Kidi. Some say it was Kidi who explained, Kisure Mechzer. There are words missing. Vachi Katani. This is really what the Brisa meant to say. This is the full Brisa with the added words. Amila Hen Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says back to the sages, what are you saying is removing from this organ this organ of the fetus that's hanging outside of the womb? What's removing from it the impurity of nevela? Shchita sima, the shchita of the mother. Imkain, if that's the case, tetirenu ba'achila. If this organ has a shchita, it should also be permitted to be eaten. Amrulo, so they said back, no. Treifa tochiach. Consider an animal that's a treifa. Shchita asimitar asimidei nevela. The shchita will remove tamas nevela from it, but it doesn't make it edible to be eaten. Hence he said back to them, lo, but there's a difference. Im tiara shchitas treifa osa. When a treifa animal gets slaughtered, so where is tumas nevela being removed from? From the treifa animal itself. This animal itself is not going to be tamei bit tumas nevela. So davar shu gufa. That's something which is in itself. But to tyrus aver, but do you thereby think that a shchita can work on a limb of the fetus that's hanging out? It's davar she'eno gufa. That's something which is not its body. That's something which is from the fetus. The fetus is not it anymore. Amrulo, so the sages said back to Rabbi Meir, the exact opposite. Harbe matzelas el she'eno gufa yoser mi gufa. The shchita of a mother is more connected to the parts of it that are not it, to the fetus parts, than to the parts of its own body. Because as we've learned, if a person cuts up the fetus that's inside the mother, then mutter ba'achila, the shchita of the mother will permit those pieces. But if somebody cuts up the spleen and the kidneys of the mother, and then shechts the mother, aser ba'achila, those pieces are not allowed to be eaten. Says the Gemara, Tanya Nami Hachi. We also learned in a brisa like this. Amar Lahen Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir said to them, V'chimi tiaro le'ever zemi de nevela. Who or what is making the tumah of nevela removed from this organ? Amrulo. So the sages said back, we think we think that the organ has the status of a treifa that was slaughtered, so it has tumah d'rabbanan, but it doesn't have tumah d'oraisa of nevela. What took away the tumah of nevela? Shchita simo, the slaughtering, the shchita of the mother. So Rabbi Meir then says, in Cain, if you're going to say that the slaughtering of the mother took away nevela from this organ, tatirenu ba'achila, let the slaughtering of the mother also make this organ edible. It should be matir to be eaten. Amrulo, so they said back, no, treifa tochiach, consider an animal that's a treifa. An animal that's a treifa, the shchita does not make it edible to be eaten, but the shchita removes tumas nevela. Where the shchita takes it away from nevela, but does not permit it to be eaten. Amar Lahen, Rabbi Meir says back to them, no, there's a difference between trying to apply the shchita to remove the tumah to the organ, to the shchita of a treifa which removes tumah. He said to them, Im tiyara shchitas treifa osa. If you have a shchita of a treifa, that takes away the tumas nevela from the treifa. And we know that if you do a shchita, it could remove tumas nevela from a limb that's just barely hanging on. Let's say a limb was cut off from the animal. It is like a couple of sinews holding it on. So shchita doesn't work to make that limb permitted to be eaten. It's a prohibition of Aver Medul Dal. But nevertheless, it removed Tumas Nevela. Why would it remove Tumas Nevela? Because those are Davar Shagufa. Those are the body itself. So the shchita would work for the body itself. But Titara Sa'ubar, but how could you say that the shchita is going to work for the limb of a fetus that's outside? It's the limb of a fetus. The fetus is Eino Gufa. The fetus is not its body. That's what Rabbi Meir said to the Chacham. Amrulo, then the Chacham said back, no. Harbe matzelas al she'eino gufa yoser mi gufa. Shchita of the mother is more effective for fetus and fetus parts than it is for the mother's body itself. Sharei shaninu, as we learned in our Mishnah, the first Mishnah of the parak. Chotich mena uber shebeme'el, a person who goes in to do a surgery, and he cuts up the pieces of the fetus inside of the mother's womb, and then he slaughters the mother. Mutter ba'achila, those pieces become permitted to be eaten. Minat cholam minat klayos. But if someone went into the mother and cut up the spleen of the mother, or cut up the kidneys of the mother, and left those pieces inside the mother's body, and then slaughtered the mother, aser ba'achila, those pieces are not allowed to be eaten. So you see that the shchita does more for the fetus than it does for the body of the mother. And therefore, if the shchita could work to take away the tumas nevela from a treifa, it could also work, according to the Chachamim, to take away tumas nevela from the leg of the fetus that is outside the womb of the mother. Okay, we had mentioned this concept of Aver Midul Dal. If there is an organ that is, let's say, a leg or a hand that's just barely hanging on to an animal. So we said that the shchita of the animal is not going to make that organ kosher, but it will remove tumas nevela from that organ. Amr Shimon ben Lakish, Rish Lakish says, Kim machlokas b'ubrin. Really, not everybody agrees to this. The same way there's a machlokas about a limb of a fetus that's outside of the womb. When the shchita happens to the mother, whether that limb is tamei tumas nevela, that's the view of Rabbi Meir, or it's not tamei tumas nevela, the view of the Chachamim. Kach machlokas. There's the same argument be'evarin, the same argument with limbs that are just barely hanging on to the animal. Let's say you have the foot was cut, but there are a couple of sinews that weren't cut, and so it's just barely hanging on to the animal, and then the animal was slaughtered. According to Rabbi Meir, the same way a limb of a fetus that is outside of the womb has tumas nevela, this would also have tumas nevela, because this would be considered Aver Menachai, which gets tumas nevela, and the shchita didn't work for it. And according to the Chachamim, no, the shchita would remove tumas nevela and would have the tumah drabanan of treifa. So the same machlokas we had about the pieces of a fetus, kach machlokas be'evarin. The same argument exists with the limbs that are barely hanging on. Rabbi Yochanan said no. Machlokas be'evar de'ubar. When you have a limb of a fetus that it's out of its place, that's when you have the argument. But when you have a limb of an animal, it's barely hanging on, everybody agrees, shchita osenipo. Through the shchita, it's considered that limb that's barely hanging on fell off, and therefore, since it's considered that it fell off through the shchita, it's considered Aver Menachai, a limb that's separated from the living, and the limb separating from the living has tumas nevela. Everybody agrees it is tamei b'tumas nevela. Rabbi Chanina said, my time to Rabbi Yochanan. What's the reason of Rabbi Yochanan? Aliba d'Rabbanan, according to the Rabbanan, who would say that the limb of a fetus that's in the wrong spot, the shchita will remove tumas nevela, whereas the limb of the animal itself, that's just barely hanging on, the shchita will make that limb tamei with tumas nevela, with the tumah of Aver Menachai. What's the reasoning? So the Gemara explains, when you have a limb of a fetus in the wrong spot, Isle takanta b'chazara. So the limb went out, but the limb could be brought back in. If the limb would be brought back in, it would become kosher with the shechita of the mother. So since it's something which could become kosher, it's not yet considered detached. However, but when you have a limb of the mother itself, it's just barely hanging on, Leslie takanta b'chazar. There's no way to fix it. There's no way for it to become kosher again. Therefore, it's considered as if it's already detached. And since it's already detached, it is Ever Menachai and Tameh with Tumas Nevela, and the Shechita doesn't remove the Tumas Nevela from it. Meisvei, so now the Gemara challenges what we just said in Rabbi Yochanan from the Bryce that we just learned. Amalehem Rabbi Meir says to the Chachamim, Lo, im tiharta shchitas treifa osa. If the shchita of a treifa is going to remove tumas nevela, that's understandable because it's removing tumas nevela from it itself. It could remove tumas nevela from an organ that's just barely hanging on, because these are both davar shagufa, something about the body itself. But how could you say from that the titayra sa'ubar, that the shchita should work to remove the tumas nevela from a leg of a fetus that's outside? That's davar she'eno gufa. That's something which is not part of its body. How could the shechita work for that? So 1 second, says the Gemara 9 Gimel Beis. Bishmal Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. I can understand according to Reish Lakish. This makes sense. The divrei am kamalu. He's saying according to your opinions. It's lididi according to my opinion. Loshna ever de ubar. Whether it's the organ of a fetus that's outside of the womb, loshna ever de behema. Nor would it make a difference if it's the organ of an animal that's just barely hanging on. They have the same status, that they're both tamei tamas nevela. But according to you guys, I see that there could be a difference. But according to you, you're saying that they both don't have tamas nevela. I don't agree. There should be a difference. That's what Rabbi Meir is saying. Ela Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, Kasha, what's Rabbi Yochanan saying to them? That in an Ever Meduldal, there, the shechita can remove tumas nevela because it's the body itself. What's Rabbi Meir saying? According to Rabbi Yochanan, everybody agrees that in Ever Meduldal, the shechita does not remove tumas nevela. It is considered nipul. The shechita makes it Ever Menachai that fell off, and it is nevela. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, what's he saying? So the Gemara says, okay, we have to change what the argument between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. The same way, there was an argument about the organ of a fetus that's out of its spot, that according to Rabbi Meir, that organ becomes nevela. According to the Chachamim, the shechita removed tumas nevela. Kach machlokas be'evarim. The same argument exists with evar midul dalim. That if you have an organ of the mother, which is just barely hanging on, and then it's slaughtered, the animal slaughtered, according to Rabbi Meir, it stays with tumas nevela. And according to the Chachamim, it doesn't have tumas nevela anymore. It's the treifa. However, Rabbi Yochanan says, they argue with the organ of the fetus that was out of its spot. But when you have an organ of the mother, which is just barely hanging on, everybody agrees. Everybody agrees it's not nevela. Everybody agrees the shechita does not make it ever menachai. Everybody agrees that the shechita purifies it from tumas nevela. Rabbi Yosef Chanina explained my time with Rabbi Yochanan, so now we have to understand what's Rabbi Yochanan's svara. I'll leave it to Rabbi Meir. According to Rabbi Meir, why would Rabbi Meir say that the organ of the fetus out of its spot, the shechita, does not make that organ tahor? The organ stays tummy b'tumas nevela, but the organ of the mother that's barely hanging on, the shechita would make it tahor from nevela. So what's the difference? The answer is, when it's the organ of the mother, it's gufa. It's the body of the mother. So the body of the mother, the shechita, works for the whole body, and it takes away tumas nevela even from the organ that's barely hanging on. But when you talk about the organ of the fetus, it's in the wrong spot. Lav gufa. It's the organ of the fetus. And the shechita is not even happening to the fetus. The shechita is happening to the mother. So the shechita of the mother is not going to be able to take away the tumah from that organ that is in the wrong spot. Amr Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef, Amr Rav Yochanan. Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef said, in the name of Rav Yochanan, Hakol, everybody, namely both Rav Meir and the Chachamim, Modim agree, Shemisa, that if the mother has an organ that's barely hanging on, and the mother dies, not that it was slaughtered, it just died on its own, then osanipol. That makes that organ considered something that had detached from it during its lifetime, and it is considered Aver min ha-chai, because, and they also all agree, as Rabbi Yochanan holds, the ein shchita ose nipol, and the shchita of the mother would not consider that organ to be something which had fallen off. The shchita of the mother would remove tumas nevela from that organ which is barely holding on. So Gemara says, but Mayaskina, what are we talking about? If we talk about the organ of the fetus, mifli, that's the argument. Ella, what is he talking about in Aver? We're talking about be'aver de behema. We're talking about the organ of the mother. And what are we saying? So we're saying that if the mother dies, that organ is nevela. If the mother is slaughtered, that organ is not nevela. So 1 second. Nisa tznina, shchita tznina. We have a Mishnah that tells us this if the mother dies. We have another Mishnah that tells us about the shchita, that it's not a nevela, as we've spoken about. So Misa tznina, we learned a Mishnah about the death. The Mishnah says, when you have a mother with an organ that's barely hanging on, umesa behema, and the mother dies, habasar tzarich hechsher, the meat of this mother that's barely hanging on, you need to rinse it off to make it able to become tamei. Va'ever, and the limb itself, mitam mishum ever min achai, that creates the tumah because there's a status of ever min achai. Ve'edim mitam mishum ever min anavela, divrei Rabbi Meir. It doesn't have the status of ever of an avela, according to Rabbi Meir. Shchita namitina, and shchita we also learned nishchata behema. If the behema was slaughtered, hushru b'dameha. So now it's mukhshar to be makabel tumah. Okay, we'll stop here. Mrs. Hashem will continue tomorrow. Rabbi Chananya ben Akasha me'eretz HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'zakas es Yisrael l'fi chakir b'lem Torah mitzvah shenam ad necha mitzvah matzikot yagdil tzarav yadir.
Amen. Amen. Yeshua Rabba Mubarak Olam Olam Mayam. Amen. Amen.